As part of the Ukraine the Latest podcast tour of the US, I visited New Jersey, and in particular the Picatinny Arsenal, which houses the Joint Programme Executive Office for Armament and Ammunition, bit of a mouthful, and also the Development Command. I interviewed Brigadier General John Reim, the head of the JPEO ANA, and also Chris Grasano, who heads up DevCom. We spoke about the war in Ukraine, how they've been able to ramp up production, and also what it means for the domestic US armament industry, men and women who are physically putting themselves in danger for Ukraine.
How you doing?
Thank you so much.
Hey, John Reim.
It's lovely to meet you.
Good to meet
Hi.
you.
How you doing? Chris Grasano, great to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. The Picatinny Arsenal here in upstate New Jersey was largely destroyed just after the First World War, when all the ammunition that had been left over was hit by a lightning bolt and the whole place went up. Now it's the place where they test and evaluate future weapons for tomorrow's wars, and also increasingly design and help ammunition and explosives for Ukraine today.
Героям слава!
So we're here at Picatinny Arsenal in New Jersey. I'm very honoured to be able to talk to Brigadier General John Reim and Mr. Grasano. Mr. Grasano, thanks so much for taking some time to speak to the Telegraph. General, are we able to put some numbers on this? So in terms of, say, 155mm ammunition, artillery ammunition, could you give me a flavour for what was business as usual before, and kind of what you're at now, and what your aspirations are for the future?
So when the conflict in the Ukraine first started, we were roughly at 14,000 a month was our capacity. Today we're at 24,000 rounds per month. Next month we'll be at 28,000 a month. At the same time next year we'll double that again.
And Mr. Grasano, so DevCom's looking to the future, but you're taking lessons straight out of Ukraine and trying to embed those and turn them into rapid capability decisions. Is that fair?
Yeah, so we're supporting on multiple fronts. One is supporting with our engineers and scientists on the production line, modernization, and expansion. So it takes a lot of engineering talent to design these new production facilities, right? And our engineers are there to help support installing them, getting them eventually spun up to speed, and qualifying the rounds that are going to be coming off of those lines. In addition to looking forward in the future, so we're getting lessons learned out of the Ukraine, right? And that's helping inform us on what that future operating environment is going to look like, and what are the systems and capabilities that we're going to need going forward into the future. And that future transparent battlefield, and then looking back and saying, what capabilities can we bring to bear against that, and when do we need to start making those investments now?
So that increase, you're talking about a six-fold increase up to circa 85,000. Back through the supply chain, when you're talking about all the energetics, the metal for the rounds, for the driving bands, everything, personnel, where are the pinch points? Where are you looking at and aiming off for in the future?
So just to add to that, some of the other things we're looking forward to is, we call it tradable systems, right? Systems that we plan to be expendable. We're looking at that from the energetics perspective too, right? Are there formulations that we can generate from materials that are much more readily available that maybe won't have a shelf life of 20 or 30 years, but if we plan to use them in the very near term and we have the capability to produce those sooner and quicker and in more bulk, then we're looking at opportunities to take advantage of that as well.
We were given exclusive access to the testbed firing of 155mm artillery ammunition. Here at Picatinny, they're able to change the mix of the explosive compound that go into these firings to see what might be better in the future as new chemical compounds come along, or the way they actually produce the artillery shell changes. You mentioned earlier on about how, in order to get up to those kind of figures, the risk tolerance is higher, both for programmatic failure but also physical danger to the people producing this, and the people producing this are largely civilians. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Because I was somewhat struck by how this war is impacting physically those supporting nations outside of Ukraine very little. We haven't got men and women in harm's way, but you have now. You've got civilians taking greater risk for Ukraine here in the US, and now they're civilians, and we haven't really heard about that. I think
it's amazing. I mentioned I actually visited Scranton Army Ammunition Plant yesterday, and just looking at the kind of forging operations, just the heat, the environment. There's true patriots there. During our lunch break, I had the opportunity to talk with them, and they're so proud of what they're doing and what they're doing in support of Ukraine. just remarkable, individuals. But I'd also tell you that with a lot of these key modernization efforts, we're trying to get after more modern, right? A lot of our, current infrastructure, dates back to World War II. A lot of brute force, a lot of hands-on, and so we go to fully automated, and so be a different workforce. Some of the concepts we talked about earlier about kind of safe separation and graceful degradation and removing people from energetics. They're all concepts that we're applying as we design and build these new facilities going forward.
And I understand that Picatinny Arsenal is the place that learned all the lessons about safe handling. You were hit by lightning and the whole place went up, and from that many of the processes and systems and regulations are in place today.
Yeah, Picatinny's been involved in. There's a picture of it up there.
Picture,
on the wall
I keep
there.
it there for a reason.
Gosh.
That shows some of the devastation up on the hill. And it really leveled the installation.
And just to finish off with, I'm interested in your view of the future. So it sounds as if this establishment, your two organisations, is the embodiment of the amateurs talk tactics, professionals talk logistics, if I may. Mm-hmm. So what's this place going to look like in a year's time and 5 years' time? How much of the lessons that you're identifying now are you going to be able to take into business as usual? How much will this change?
King of Battle's back, right? And so I think the Ukraine has really shed the light on the importance of a lot of things we do here. Going forward, I think it's really shown the spotlight on, a lot of times we tend to focus on capability, right? The big shiny, platform, the end item, it's sexy, it briefs well, it sells well, you look at the glossy brochures, but, I don't have the things that go bang or boom, it's a big paperweight, at the end of the day. And so I think we're back to a more balanced, conversation of capability versus capacity, in the right amount, in the right spot, going forward. And I think what we provide, in terms of that capacity, to bring, reliable and safe, munitions, for our platforms, for individual, weapon systems, is important going forward. And the recognition that, hey, the industrial base, kind of Chris had mentioned, hey, we're designing the Army of 2040. Yeah, our industrial base in a lot of aspects, is from 1940. And so I think folks have recognized that challenge and, are kind of leveraging the opportunity that our support to Ukraine, has given us to exploit that opportunity, not only to rapidly support the Ukraine, but also for us, both from a deterrence perspective, but then also to be able to produce at scale when required.
Mr. Crisano, General Reim, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for talking to the Telegraph.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks for coming out and spending time with us.
Defence in Depth is a weekly video output by the Telegraph of the big defence stories. If you'd like a daily fix of content about the war in Ukraine, I'd suggest Ukraine the Latest, the Telegraph's podcast. And do check out the US special we produced from the British Embassy live in Washington, DC. For more defence stories, we've left links in the description below, and if you have a topic you would like us to cover, let us know in the comments. Please do visit our website for the latest updates, news and analysis, or failing that, you could read the paper.